Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to the Conversations with Dr. Don show. The show is produced and broadcast from the Portland, Oregon area. For your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and about whatever it is we have decided to talk about. And tonight, my guest, Stan
Harris.
It's
all right, Don.
Welcome to the show. And how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great, really.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad I'm doing the show.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, we waited for you. Things were kind of screwed up with sometimes technical difficulties, but we've got them all solved now. And you're here looking at me, talking to me, and that's good. Yeah.
All right.
And I met you not too many days ago in a sort of a homeless encampment in Beaverton,
right,
on 5th Street.
5th Avenue, yes.
5th Avenue, yeah. And I decided to come over and talk to a few of you guys, and you stood out because of how you were and how you talked to me, and I want to learn more about you so that my viewers can have an idea of what it's like to talk to someone who's living the life right now being homeless. And that's why I invited you to come on the show. And here you are. And some difficulty you had getting squared away and getting here, and you're here now. And that's what counts. All right.
Yes.
So you're ready for the personal stuff.
Sure.
If I would ask your best friend, who is Stan, be your best friend and pretend that you're Stan. You're Stan's best friend. Stan is what?
Well, I've had a chance to think about that a little bit, and I'm thinking that, Stan is a very affable, nice person who, by due to circumstances, sometimes behaves the way he doesn't want to behave, or doesn't like the way he behaves at times. I think being homeless has made me very, I don't know what the right word is, but very jaded, very, I used to always have a very optimistic, positive attitude, and I enjoyed meeting people, talking with people, and just lately it's like I don't trust people. I've had a lot of things happen where I just am very jaded.
Okay, we'll get more into that in the second half of the show. All righty, and I asked you when and where were you born? I asked you before.
Yeah, I was born in Bakersfield, California, 1960, yeah.
I got one or two more trick questions, okay?
You all right, all right.
Why were you born?
I don't know. You mean why was I born? What was my purpose? Who knows?
Yeah?
I don't know.
Yeah,
but so I always used to like to think that everybody was born for a reason and everybody had a purpose in life, and and I used to think I did, but right now I don't know. I don't think I do really. Maybe my purpose was I was born to come onto this show.
Yeah.
Maybe help people out. Yeah.
There's an optimistic flavor to you, anyhow, that's betrayed by your answer just now. Anything significant about your racial or national or cultural heritage, or you're just plain old American white bread?
Yeah, plain old American white bread. I mean, my dad's family was from Arizona. My mom's family is from Oregon. I grew up in Oregon.
Do you have a religious preference? That's one of those questions you don't have to answer.
Well, I'm a Christian. I've been very active at different times of my life in the church. I was very active in Celebrate Recovery, and I guess my grandmother was an influence in that regards when I was younger. Yeah.
What is Celebrate Recovery?
It's like a program similar to AA or NA in that it's you have weekly meetings and sponsors and stuff, but it's faith-based.
Yeah, I've heard of it before.
Yeah.
When you were coming up as a little fella, were you associated with a particular Christian religion or a denomination?
Yeah, probably when I was really young, it was the Baptist religion, and I've probably, if anything, I guess in my adult years, I have been more associated with probably the Baptist church, but also the what do you call it? The Foursquare Church too.
Yeah, so, Foursquare. I know about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very conservative. Yeah, very conservative, but still, I found spiritual growth there, so I'm grateful for it.
Spiritual growth. What do you mean by spiritual growth?
I just like just basically believing in something higher than yourself. That there was more to the world than just myself, and that there's more to be concerned about than just my needs too. You know, and just realizing that there was there had to be more to life than what I was living at the time. Yeah.
And you can still say that considering where you're at in life now.
I still try to say that, yes. I can't say I say it every day, but I do try, yeah. I believe it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get up every day and put your best foot forward, but, you know, you try. There are some days I don't want to.
Oh, my, I can only imagine. I can only imagine what you're talking about. I had a few adventures in my life many, many years ago that were not quite homeless, but I was stuck on a freeway hitchhiking, and I had credit cards in my wallet, but I didn't want to. I wanted to see what it was like to struggle, and sometimes I'm waiting 8 hours on an off-ramp to get picked up. This is a slight hint of what it's like to be ignored. But anyhow,
being ignored sucks, yeah.
Yeah. And how about your formal education? You want to say a little about that?
Yeah, I guess I graduated from Hillsborough High School. I went to PCC for a while, and
it was in Oregon institutions.
Yeah, Portland Community College, yeah. And then I graduated from Hillsborough High School, local high school here. But then I graduated from Oregon State University. I got a bachelor's administration degree in business administration and one in international trade. And I spent a year doing overseas study in Japan at Aoyama Gakuen Daigakuin University. So,
日本でわかりますか?
わかりましたよ。
あ、そう。
日本では国際経済を勉強していました。
Oh, God. I remember a few phrases when I was drinking beer and chasing Japanese girls.
Yeah, that's how I learned how to speak Japanese, was drinking beer. Well, studying hard and drinking beer. Drinking beer helps loosen the tongue up a little bit.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But I eventually ended up living in Japan for 4.5 years. So
4.5 years.
Yeah. So.
Where'd you live in Japan? Tokyo, Yokohama?
I lived in Tokyo. I lived the first year I lived in Tokyo in a student dormitory right on Aoyama Dori, and then the other 3.5 years I lived in Kawasaki City, which is a suburb of Tokyo, I guess, or one of the And then in Yokohama I lived there too. So.
We could spend the next hour talking about Japan.
I could talk about Japan forever, yeah.
Kamakura and the tourist things.
I loved living there, but when I came home, I was when I came home, I was ready to come home too. You know. Yeah.
There's a home to come back to. Yeah.
You get tired of everybody calling you gaijin or gaigo, you know, and staring at you and laughing. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other education comes to mind? Are you in the process of further education now in your experiencing your homelessness? Is
that's a different type of education, and it's a little bit sharper. But this is not my first time to be on the streets. But I would say that one thing I've always thought is being homeless is kind of like, it's been a dose of humility, you know, and it's definitely made me more of a humble person than I used to be. With my education, also I was in the Marine Reserves. You know, I spent time in the I was stationed at Swan Island here in Portland, 6 engineers. And so there was a time in my life where, you know, I would describe myself as a hater, just somebody who, I was a redneck, you know, very ultra-conservative, and if you weren't like me, I wanted nothing to do with you. Yeah. But I can tell you that being on the streets changes that attitude fairly quickly, you know. So.
Oh my gosh. I like your candidness and your honesty in talking about those kinds of things that some people are reluctant to talk about because it's unnerving. But I appreciate your honesty. Yeah. So,
yet I found when I was homeless that it was all these people that I looked down upon or hated, that they were there to help me more than the people that were more similar to my background, you know. And that changes you considerably, really. You know, I mean, I had some lesbian women who, when I was sick one time, took, you know, really good care of me. I made sure that I was warm and fed, and, you know, I had some medicine and stuff, you know, until I got over this pneumonia. And, you know, before that, I probably would have call them a bunch of names and you know, and look down on them for being lesbians, you know. But that's just one experience where my eyes were opened a little bit.
Okay.
So.
And do you have a wife in the past?
Yeah, I was married to a Japanese gal, and brought her here to Oregon. We were all together for about 3.5 years. About a year in Japan, maybe a little bit more, and then we moved over here. She was a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. How long ago was that? Oh, that's been a while. She went back to Japan in 1997, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You have any other relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends? I've got to cover all the bases, you know.
Yeah. There was another woman who I have a daughter by. My daughter is now 14. I was with her mom for about 9 years altogether. Our relationship lasted about 9 years. I'm not saying that there were a few years there where like the last couple of years and probably a couple in the middle where we didn't really, we were together, maybe living together, but we weren't together romantically, you know. But altogether about 9 years I was with her.
Were you ultra conservative at that time?
No, this is no, not at all. This is after that, yeah. After.
And you have one daughter rather?
Just one daughter, yeah.
Yeah,
and she's 14, yeah.
14. Do you see her?
No, I haven't seen her for 7 years now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Not by my choice, but anyways, that's just the way it is. Right now we're trying to, I did have a custody agreement. I am supposed to see her every other weekend, but right now I don't even know where she's at. Haven't known where she's at for a while. I did hire some investigators and paid them to find my daughter and my ex because I had heard they'd moved to Idaho, but they hadn't. I did find them, but haven't been able to touch base with them since then. So that's all fairly recent, that development.
So as time has gone by, you have changed politically and other ways, but probably in the process now of changing and adjusting to your reality. And I hate to talk about those terms. Your political persuasion, or your left, right, and you mentioned earlier something that leads me to believe that you changed over the years. From what to what did you change? Well,
politically, I don't know if I really changed. I voted in the past. I voted for a lot of Republicans, and recently, I guess I've voted for a lot of Democrats. I do vote. So, I've gotten out there and voted. And quite frankly, I wanted to see Hillary Clinton be our president, but at the same time, I'm not all that disappointed in Trump. I thought he was going to be a lot worse president than he is. He hasn't gotten us blown up yet, so I've been grateful for that. But I like Trump because I see he's a man of action. At least he's doing something. He's not just always sitting around. But I wonder. I think our country needs to have a woman president at some point. I don't know.
You're interesting.
Yeah, because I think we need to. When you live overseas for a while, you find out people over there don't like us so much.
Yes.
They look at us as the big bully. I know when I was growing up, Russia was the big bully.
Yeah.
But they look at us similar to as we used to maybe look at the Russians. Even our allies, they may go along with us at times, but most of them think that we're pretty heavy-handed. I mean, if you read independent news articles like you would get in a paper in Japan, for example, or maybe in Thailand or somewhere else, you'd find that we're not well liked.
Right.
They look at us as being big bullies that push people around.
Do they have any reasoning or any explanation for why they feel that way toward America?
It's because we insist on having our way in foreign policy, regardless of how it affects other countries. I believe that's what it is, and what's beneficial to us may not always be beneficial to England or France or other allies.
So is America selfish?
Well, I would say that at times, yeah, I think sometimes we're selfish, but I don't believe we're always selfish intentionally. I don't think we even realize we're selfish sometimes.
Yeah. And yet at the same time, from my learning and experience, we're also generous and kind. We're all these things, yeah.
Yeah, very complicated. It's not a simple thing.
Yeah.
And people do like our culture, a lot of, but then there's that bully side of us that, where we're throwing our military weight around and our muscle, and I think sometimes that doesn't earn us a good reputation overseas.
Yeah. What's the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Well, sympathy is a condescending type of emotion from, my experience, and empathy is actual real caring, where you're putting yourself in that other person's shoes, and putting yourself in that person's shoes situation and relating to the to those emotions and stuff. Whereas sympathy, I think, is just strict condescending, and I don't think anybody wants sympathy, and but I certainly don't want sympathy. I hate that. I hate it when people are very condescending to me. Just last weekend, for example, I think I was telling you that I was working up in Woodland, Washington, and things didn't go well. And I think part of the problem is because my friend who referred me up there to the job mentioned to them that I was homeless. And for some people, homelessness is like it's like you're just like you have a mental handicap or something, or you should ride the short bus. That's what they think, and it's not that way at all. And so they're very sympathetic, but they certainly are not very empathetic. A lot of these
But
people.
for the grace of God, there go I. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. And it gets very frustrating at times, when people, I don't know, they just think you're an idiot or something like that, just because you're homeless. And we're not. I don't consider myself an idiot, and I don't consider most of the people I know. In fact, a lot of the people I know are very, they're very intelligent, even if they're not educated, and they're very adept at surviving. I've been amazed at some of the strategies people come up just to live. Being homeless. So you can't be an idiot and survive. On the street, you gotta have your wits about you for sure. Yeah. But people want to treat you like you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what your IQ is?
No, I know it's pretty far up there, pretty high up there. I've been tested before, but I don't remember the actual number. It's not any concern of mine. I don't really care,
Sure.
Yeah.
I ask you because I can sense you're an informed man, you're an intelligent man, and you think and you have that ability, and you're at least 2 or 3 deviations above the norm. So it's impressive, and it's a pleasure talking with you about things because I'm just a little bit above the mean, so it feels good,
Well, it feels good to have somebody appreciate it because most of the time people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memberships in political, social, or civic organizations, anything you belong to right now?
Right now, the only thing that I'm not technically a member yet, but I'm getting there, is the Royal, the Rose City Astronomy Club. They have went to my first star viewing up there at Stewart Stubbs State Park the other night with a gal friend of mine, and a bunch of people are up there with these big telescopes, and you just look at the stars. And I missed the second meeting, but I plan on going to the next one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if there's any hope, sometimes I feel like it's up there somewhere, so I like looking at the stars. Yeah. When I first went up there, though, me and the girlfriend, we didn't know anybody, so I had to go introduce it. I almost said to these people, I almost said, yeah, we have an interest in astrology, But I stopped myself and got the word astronomy out right at the last second. But they probably would have laughed. I wouldn't have been the first one, I'm sure. But yeah, right now that's my main outside interest I have, other than just trying to get by every day.
Do you see her from time to time, or fairly often? The woman who was up there at that meeting with you?
Well, I don't see her too much. I've known her for a long time, but I don't see her too often. But I hope to see her some more. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to find out. She's not homeless. She has a nice place and she has a car, and but that's our common interest are the stars. So it's pretty. I hope to see her some more.
You believe in reincarnation?
Not really. No, I don't really believe in reincarnation, but because I just don't. But at the same time, there's always that part of me that says, all right, there's a lot of stuff I didn't used to believe in, and I now know is true. So maybe it is true. I wouldn't say that I completely disbelieve it either. I just haven't really even looked into it that much, I guess.
I'm a recovering Roman Catholic, I was an altar boy for years, and I see myself now as an agnostic or a skeptic. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I want to leave the door open in case something happens where
right.
I get some new smarts or something.
Yeah, and you have to, and that's the way I kind of look at a lot of things. I don't think we know. I know the spiritual realm is out there, and I know there's a lot more to it than we know.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's, I don't want to say no to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So what does spiritual mean to you?
Gosh, I don't know exactly. I mean, it just, to me,
I
just
don't know
means,
exactly either.
Yeah, I just know that there's more out there than what we physically can see, touch, and hold. There's other realms out there, I think, maybe even other dimensions. I think we just don't know. I think we're just beginning to maybe appreciate some of it,
Some suggest that spiritual is a term to describe a certain feeling. Does that ring a bell with you?
Well,
I've been doing this a long time, and I got a couple of ideas about it myself.
Certain feeling, I don't know about that, but I do know this. There have been times where I've prayed very hard for certain things, and my prayers have been answered, and there's definitely, I believe, a higher power. I look at the mathematical probability of like Earth even existing, yet alone the mathematical probability of human birth, and you look at all that and how it all happens, and somebody it didn't happen by happenstance,
Right.
I don't think, but but at the same time, I don't think we know. I just don't think we don't know yet.
I don't think they know either.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
that's the one thing maybe I'm really kind of like sad about, is that I won't be living. I think that these generations these days, they may see some really amazing things happen, I mean, in terms of like maybe aliens or space travel, and it's a bummer that it seems like as you get older, you just start getting things figured out a little bit, then you got to die, and that doesn't seem right either. It seems like there should be more to it than that.
and it must be difficult for you to live for the moment nowadays because of the situation you're in life and earning your keep and that sort of a thing. So,
Right.
But you still manage to seem to have some spirit and something about you, a core that keeps you going. And I can only guess at what it must be like, as I was saying earlier. Now, I got another question or two for you before we take a break. Can you think of any persons from the past or alive today that you look up to or admire? Anybody?
Yeah, absolutely. There are 3 people that always come to my mind, and one of them was my 3rd grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. McNamara, and when I was a child in elementary school in San Diego, where we were living, we had some people who were, we used to call them MRs, mentally retarded kids that were a lot older and bigger. They would go to our school, and during recess and stuff, we'd run around and tease them and call them names. And during the process, one day during recess, I fell and I broke my arm across a tree branch, but my pants came unbuttoned too at the same time. I was more worried about my pants being unbuttoned, but Mrs. McNamara came up to me, and when she assessed the situation, she said to me, "Stan, I am so ashamed of you. I thought better of you than that." So I felt really bad for teasing them. And after that, I feel like I've never been a bully since then because of her, And
You learned something.
I learned something. Then 7th and 8th grade, I did up here in Hillsboro at Brown Junior High. I think they have a different name for it now, but Mr. Stoley was my social studies teacher. And what I remember about him is he took us all caroling to old folks' homes during Christmas time. And I remember him for that. And then there was Jack Drexler, a professor of mine at Oregon State. And he was teaching the class of, it was a behavior class, what do they call it? they didn't call it group behavior, but it was similar to that. Yeah, they had another name for it, business name for it, but it was the study of group behavior, and he was talking about manipulation and mind games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I went to see him after one of the lectures. I just told him, I said, Jack, you know, I really have an issue with this, you know, these games and these mind games and this type of manipulation and stuff like that. He says, well, I'm glad you came and talked to me about it. He said the important thing was not to learn how to use these so much as just learn how to recognize when people are using them on you. That's why he was teaching the class. And ever since then, I think about that a lot, because I see people who really do try manipulating people, you know, all the time. And yeah, I remember him. And I guess I also remember Professor Brofenbrenner from, he was from Princeton University. And he was one of the guest professors at the program I was doing in Oyamagaquin. I just remember him because he was about 85 years old. And he says, you know, look at all this. He goes, when I was here at the end of the war, it was flattened. I should have bought some real estate then. I'd be one of the richest men in the world. And I call myself an economist. Because he didn't have any of that. But he was with MacArthur at the end of World War II, part of the what do they call that?
That was in the occupation.
Occupation, yeah. And he was one of MacArthur's economic advisors, yet alone, and I got to study under him.
I shall return.
Yeah. Yeah. But those are the people that I remember in my life, you know. And my grandmother is too. I still remember my 3 boot camp drill instructors, you know, from I think it was 1980, I believe, you know. You know, Sergeant Johnson and Sergeant Ruiz and Staff Sergeant, Gunnery Sergeant Robles, who was our senior drill instructor. I still remember those 3. You never forget theirs.
You have good feelings about them? Remember them?
Absolutely, absolutely. They were very hard on us. They you know, ran you into the ground every night and stuff. But I never felt like they were just trying to get us ready for, you know, potential war. I've never been in a war, never had a shot fired at me in anger. And I'm grateful for that too.
How about your mom and dad? Say a few words about them.
Well, my dad died. He abandoned us when I was 3 in Bakersfield, and my grandmother and grandfather came down and rescued us, you know. But later on, when I was able to get in touch with my father's real family in Arizona, I asked my mom about, my grandmother about him, and she said, son, the best thing ever happened. Oh, my dad, he died skydiving.
Oh, wow.
So I said, so I asked her some questions about him, and she finally looked at me. She said, son, the best thing that ever happened to your daddy was he died jumping out of that plane. This is old mom said that. So, you know, he was probably not that good of a character. But my mom, you know, she single mom most of the time, and I had 2 brothers and a sister, and you know, during the 70s and 80s, I think it was very difficult for a single mom, you know, even to find decent employment and stuff. Yet she persevered and she raised us. I was very critical of her as a mom when I was younger, but as I got older, I got to appreciate her a lot more. You know, I think we all do that maybe. Yeah. But you know, you realize how hard it was to be a parent, and you know, we kind of struggled a bit, but we always had good Christmases and good, you know, good holidays in general. You know.
Where is she now?
Oh, she passed away about 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah. So.
Any other family that you're not in touch with?
Well, I had 2 brothers, Mike and Steve. Yeah. They both died of AIDS, and they're in. They died in 1996. Within 3 months. See, 1996 was the worst year of my life. In 3 months, I think 4 months, I lost my 2 brothers, and my wife divorced and went back to Japan. So it was a shitty year. That's the first time I ended up being homeless. You know.
Yeah, you had quite a life. My goodness.
Yeah, but so there you go. That's my family.
Yeah. So let's take a break, and then we'll come back and talk some more about homelessness and your homelessness. Shall we take a break, Mr. Ellery, our director? All it boils down to that. Be a nice human being. Okay, we're back. Thanks for staying tuned. For your viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don that you're watching is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like my guest here, and he's like most of you out there, a decent human being, about who he is and whatever we've decided to talk about tonight. We're talking about homelessness and his homelessness and homelessness in general. So let's take a step here in that direction. And we got a couple of questions to prompt the conversation. And I don't know what I did with them. All right. I have one from let's start off with my question.
Okay.
What does that title mean to you, Homeless in America? What does that title mean, Homeless in America? What does that mean?
Well, it just means I think that you don't have a place that you can depend upon on a daily basis to where you can go to at the end of your day and rest or go to sleep or do whatever. You don't have a place to call your own in any way at all. It doesn't mean necessarily out on the street. Fortunately, I've never really slept on the street too much. Maybe I've had to stay up a couple nights here and there, but I've always had friends or associates that I've known that have been willing to let me sleep on their couch. And but I don't always know where that couch is going to be when I wake up that morning, And it can be, I can spend a good chunk of each day, just worrying about that or trying to attain that, making sure I got a place that night,
So what's a typical day for you? Is there such a thing as a typical day in your condition?
No, but primarily, each day will be comprised of maybe three things I concern about: eating, where I'm going to sleep, and bathing. So.
And that's from day to day. You not sure about that.
Not sure about that.
Yeah.
It can be daunting at times, or just almost. And then even sometimes when you think you've got it all figured out, it doesn't take much to change it. Somebody can decide they don't want any company, or somebody can decide, just that they would rather not have you there for whatever reason. And, it's their prerogative, it's their place. You can't really argue too much with it. So you just never know. Even when I think I have a place, sometimes it turns out I don't,
You experience depression, hopelessness?
I know sometimes I feel like I would say definitely yes. I try, once I'm recognize that I'm feeling that, I try to do something about it, and...
What do you do?
Oh, sometimes I call a friend, or sometimes I'll and talk to them, or maybe I'll try to do something that's self-positive. Maybe like for example, going and seeing the stars or something. I try to always do something outside of the normal so-called lifestyle that homelessness tends to cultivate. And I don't want to be stuck in that. So I'll when I find out that I am kind of getting in that rut, I'll just go out of my way to go do something. For me, I ride bikes a lot, and my goal is, eventually get into some bike races. Maybe the senior division, because I'm getting older. But I do ride. I don't know how many miles a week, but I know it's not uncommon for me to do 40 or 50, 60 miles a day. At times, I'll ride from Tualatin to out to Aloha to Beaverton to to Tigard, in a day. And sometimes when I haven't gone for a bike ride for a few days, or a couple days even, I can feel that depression coming on, and that's what I'll do is I go hit my bike and go riding.
Where's your bike now?
Right now I loaned it to my friend Chris, who was with me the day I met you. It was at his camp that I was at, just visiting, and I loaned it to him this weekend, the whole weekend, because I was going to be gone and didn't need it, and plus it was a good way for me to have my bike kept an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
And then last night he asked if he could borrow it for one more little ride, and I said sure, go ahead. And I just haven't seen him since, but I'm sure I'll get it back. He's not the type that I'll get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but sometimes just when I go for a good ride, it just really helps clear the mind. No matter how angry you are or how sad you are or bummed out you are, when you go for a good 30 or 40-minute ride, even at the end of that ride, you're not that, but you're a little bit less angry, a little bit less sad, a little bit less bummed out. It helps a lot.
Okay, that's good information for me because I'm an older man now,
Yeah.
and I still go to the gym every day, which kind of keeps me going.
Yeah, you know.
And I have what's been called a depressive personality. I'm a retired clinical psychologist, I think I mentioned before, and I've learned enough about myself to know that not seriously, but mild degree of depression, sort of ongoing off and on. And a couple of times in my life, I slipped into a serious depression where I wondering whether it was all worthwhile or not, whether I should end it. And that only happened twice, hospitalized for a short time, so I can say I have been there, so I know what it's like to be that way. And it's awful bad to feel hopeless or helpless, and I don't want to go that direction again, so I have an idea what it must be like for you sometimes. But through all that you're telling me so far, you're managing to stay ahead and have some sort of reason for existing and keeping going. But we'll get more into that later on. How did you become homeless? You said this time. You
This
were
time,
homeless
yeah.
before.
Yeah, I've been homeless before, like I said, but this most recent time was, I was working for a guy living in his house over in off of Inaloa, or actually I guess Hillsborough, I don't know, Southwest 170th and Baseline, that area. And I was
in the
doing a
Portland
very
metro
extensive,
area.
very extensive remodeling job for him. At first, it was just a way to pay my rent. I'd give him like about 10 hours a week. He liked my work because I've done a lot of construction in the past too. I worked my way through college doing construction. I sheetrocked a house with an uncle when I was 13, you know, and I've always worked. And so I sold building materials overseas too, you know, to the Japanese and the Chinese for different companies. So I've got this construction background, and I was doing this remodeling job. I mean, it was very extensive. It was reframing in walls. It was a second story that was bad. It had been used as a grow room for marijuana in the past, and there was mold, and everything had to be gutted on the second story. So anyways, I framed in all the new walls, sheetrocked, insulated, did floors, tile, stairs, painted, did everything, electrical, did it all for 3 months, and I was supposed to get a percentage of the house when it was sold. And I came home one night after, you know, I was pressing him to finish writing the contract that, you know, he kept saying he was going to do, and I found the door locked, and the locks changed. And I had about three months work, I mean, solid work. I was very excited about it. I was going to use the money from this job, you know, to kind of maybe catapult a business of doing some remodeling, you know, and it was locked. And he ended up basically stealing all my stuff, all my tools, my equipment, my bikes, everything. He, you know, I called the cops, and they basically said I have to. It was a civil matter, and I need to sue him, and I still need to sue him. But you know, it's very hard to even find the time to sue anybody when you're just trying to live every day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure that's what this guy counted on, and you know, that's how I ended up homeless this time. Yeah. Before then, I was living in a house up here in Garden Home, and with a friend, and sharing a room there. And but yeah, this time that's how I got homeless this time. So the other time was when I was homeless is just basically when I broke up with my ex, and she was and my daughter. We separated like about 7 years ago, and you know, eventually I was homeless for about a 2-year period then, and I was homeless for about a year before I met her, before I met my daughter's mom. You know, I was homeless then too. So, but those other times weren't quite the same. You know, I was still working, or still had jobs or income, and you know, it wasn't so bad. But this last time it's been pretty bad. You know.
So
that's been about 1.5 years now. So
about 1.5 years that you've been in this situation, and you have any thoughts about how to move on? I was talking to by that camp where I met you. I was talking to a sergeant from the Beaverton Police Department about what he was doing there, and he explained to me in some detail about how he's looking at the situation. Not we hate all homeless people, or he talks about the stuff that's available for guys like you, the resources and like that. And I'm wondering, have you addressed the resources that are available to help you as a homeless person?
In the past, I've tried, and I call the number because I'm considered a veteran too,
Yeah.
and there's some resources available, and yet I called this one community action several times, and I've never gotten a call back. Finally, though, this time I called them again, and with the prompting, and I have an appointment set up to go in and see what they can do for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've taken the step of doing that, but some of the people, my friend Chris, who borrowed my bike, and his girlfriend Kim, they went to a meeting already with the same people that the Beaverton Police set them up with.
Yeah.
And from what I gathered, it was a waste of their time. So I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm still going to go to the meeting that I have set up, but at the same time, I wish I could be more encouraged. We'll see what happens. I think a lot of times there's a lot of talk, and it sounds like they got this and that. But usually you find out most of the programs are closed. I don't know, but you got to try.
Yeah.
You got to try, so
Yeah.
I'm going to. That's kind of, I think that was one of my questions later on, was that what I plan on doing as far as yeah.
What motivates some who aren't homeless to help or hurt those who are? You have a fair amount of people who look at you differently because you're homeless.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they're condescending and they get a lot of sympathy, but they're not empathetic. They think if they throw you a sandwich and a root beer or something like that, that they've done something great to help you and you owe them the world. I'm over exaggerating, of course, but it's pretty close to that. It's like, and I've just seen a lot of people just think like, you ought to kiss their feet because they threw you that sandwich and a root beer. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying there's not some good people out there that their intentions are, but what I do see a lot of is, especially if you're a woman, see a lot of people want a woman to move in, so they can abuse them sexually. Mm-hmm. And if they don't want to put out, they get kicked out. I mean, they make it very pointed, and but it's not just women, but men also get treated that way at times, It's really almost shocking. And another thing they always got to do is, for some reason, these people already have their own homes and their own cars and all their own things. When they invite, then they kick you out. They want to keep all your stuff, too. I don't know why. They got so much stuff. Why do they want to keep your little bit of stuff? But they do. I've seen that happen 100 times.
So are Americans more selfish that way than other cultures, you think?
I think, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the homeless situation in other cultures, but I do know that some Americans are very generous. But there are some out there that would, skin their own mother if they could, and there's a lot more of them than you think.
So you keep hanging around because occasionally you bump into those who are more generous, huh?
Yeah, more generous and just more, and I'm not looking for free handouts, and neither are most of the people I know. In fact, probably, I think some people probably even are resentful of the free handouts. We want to earn our way. We want to. There's other people that are homeless out there that have pretty good backgrounds and who aren't choosing this lifestyle out of choice, and there's a lot of people that are going to find themselves homeless. They're just one no paycheck, or 1 month of no income, from being homeless. And
as time goes on, do you think the homelessness problem is going to increase as time goes by?
Absolutely. Right. I mean, it's already been increasing. Like, it's crazy. You seldom saw a homeless person out in the southwest side of town, yet now you see them all over the place. But even though a lot of them are being kicked out and driven into Portland, you still see a lot of them. You drive into Portland, look at all the tents everywhere. It's incredible.
It's sad. It's sad.
And it's not these. We're not all drug addicts or alcoholics or lazy, or anything like that. It's just once you get in that situation where you're homeless, what I find is very difficult to get out of it. It's not. I can't even explain how hard it is, because you spend so much of your day just trying to survive. You don't have a whole lot of time and energy left to try to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've noticed is by the time I can get to those, that's a luxury sometimes, to have that time to think and try to get something done and make those phone calls. Oh, heck, it's already 5:30. It's too late. You know, you can't.
So you've been in this position you're in right now for, you said, about a year and a half?
Yes.
Okay. Seems like the only solution cities like Beaverton and Tiger, that's in Oregon, have to offer is force the homeless into Portland. Why do those municipalities force the homeless people into Portland? Why? The money is in Beaverton and Tigard in those suburbs rather than
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when I was younger, I remember when there was the first Street of Dreams built out in up on I believe Clark Hill Road or what's the name of that hill out there in Aloha? But Clark Hill, I think it is. But anyways, it was built out there. It was a big deal. But you know, every year since, so we got at least 30 Street of Dream homes in this area. You know, out in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody living in each of those homes is probably a millionaire. So you know, there's a lot of money out here at the suburbs. Yet in Portland, where you know the average median income is much less than the average median income out here in the suburbs, why are the homeless being forced into a municipality that is already strained? And yet out here we keep adding more police officers to the police force. They get all the new toys. We have money for all that. We have money for, you know, jails and more money for, but we don't have enough money to help the homeless. There's companies like Nike and Intel out here where Intel has more millionaires working for them than any other corporation in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we can't help the homeless more than the best we can do is just make it illegal to be homeless and then in Beaverton and then push them into Portland. I mean, it's crazy.
What do we need to do about that?
I have no idea. You know, you can't force people to, you know, what you were talking about. You're talking about social change.
Okay.
And is it going to take, you know, some kind of revolution? You know, that, you know, we're going to have so many people out there that are homeless that finally, you know, to wake people up.
Has there been revolutions in the past?
Yeah, there has. You know,
Rhetorical question.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think time marches on and things change and sometimes they repeat themselves over and over again.
Yeah.
And
like Marie Antoinette, when she was told that the masses were starving, there was no bread, and she said, let them eat cake. I swear that I've ran into that same attitude so many times from people who aren't homeless, you know.
Uh-huh.
It's not that simple, you know. Let them eat cake. Well, are you really that blind to what's really going on around you? Or
greed or selfishness is something in our
Yeah.
genetic makeup to have us behave this way toward fellow human beings.
That's what I wonder, yeah. You think it's genetic? A good chunk of it?
Like lemmings and certain species, when they are overpopulating
Mm-hmm.
the area, they find some sort of a way to reduce their numbers. But it seems like we're reducing the numbers of those people who are unfortunate enough to be
Mhm.
homeless and hungry. The end result is that they manage to reduce their numbers so that things aren't so bad. And you got me going too far.
Yeah.
I can't figure out what the answer is. I know I try to live my life in a caring sort of a fashion and still realize I want to curb my tendencies to acquire new things that I don't need and to be more walk the talk more than just have a philosophy that says be nice to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think curbing the desire to have new things is something I've also learned too. I mean, I've had to. I can't carry that much on my back. So I've kind of just like cut all ties to, you know, any desire to own certain things, or if things get stolen, I don't care. It's I was never attached to them, you know, and that's kind of what I've been doing, is almost disassociating myself from possessions as much as I can.
Interesting.
You know, because it just seems like every time I get anything that I like or enjoy or anymore, it gets stolen or taken or lost due to the lifestyle. Yeah. But I see a lot of people are very concerned about what they own and their possessions, and their whole life is about their things, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes people give you things like it's going to do you any good. What are you supposed to do with it? Hey, you know, like here's a really nice TV. Okay, great. Where am I going to watch it? You know, but they do. They give you like these things, and they think like they're helping you out.
So it seems like certain human beings need to have those kinds of things in order to believe that they're worthwhile or they're okay. Need to have possessions to feel like they're important enough. And then the system is such that we are conditioned to believe that way, that if our okayness is contingent on what we can show to our fellow humans that we are important or that we're okay.
Yeah, exactly. But I think about right now the one thing that I miss the most is my coffee press. I had a little mini coffee press. I brought it with me everywhere in my backpack. I could press my coffee. I enjoy having a nice cup of coffee every once in a while, and haven't had one for about 3 or 4 weeks now. And people don't get it. They oh, here's a cup of coffee, and they give you one out of their coffee pot, and that's all right. I'm not that I don't appreciate that, but I really do enjoy my coffee, and I like it pressed freshly.
Yeah. Well, what do you have by way of possessions? You got a backpack there. You have other possessions someplace stashed away?
Yeah, like where I'm staying with some friends right now. I have a few other backpacks. I don't have a whole lot of possessions. A few tools that I managed to accumulate again, and my bike. Yeah. And a coffee press. That a little mini one, but. It's missing the top plunger now, so I haven't even, I don't know where I lost it at, but I do have 2 bags of some good coffee. I like Starbucks coffee, even though I think they over-commercialize everything. I still like the coffee, but I also like all the other fine coffees that we have. We live in a good coffee place. And that's one of my little pleasures in life I have, is just having a good cup of coffee once in a while. And maybe I needed to have one tonight.
Can you have one tonight?
Yeah, probably. And if it's hot summer, I like, good iced coffee is great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still like to press my coffee first, then make it into an iced coffee. But
So where will you stay tonight?
I'm staying with some friends off Garden Home Road, over where I was picked up at earlier, and I'll probably just stay there tonight. See, so I have tonight figured out, but I don't know about tomorrow night. I try not to make myself too much of a burden on any one person, so I have these like 4, 5, 6 friends, that I kind of rotate around.
And they put up with you.
They put up with me, and never try to stay too long to overstay my welcome, and and there's a fine line there, and then you don't want to be asked to move on or leave, so. At least I don't want to, so I'll just move on. So I have, it's not like I ever planned it that way, but it's the way it's kind of become.
How do you manage to eat your meals?
Usually with them, yeah, but I buy a lot of things that are non-perishable, and then and I just keep stuff in different refrigerators when I go visit people, but and that kind of sucks because unless you want to eat a whole 2 quarts of ice cream, you're not. By the time you get back to that house again, it'll be gone. And that's just the way it is. You can't really cry about it too much.
So how are you going to get back to where you left for tonight?
Well, I'm hoping at least to make a phone call, and I think my friend that I go see the stars with will. I think she's going to come pick me up here. I hope. I didn't get a chance to finish that text message right before we got here, but I think she's going to pick me up here. She doesn't live very far away.
I have another guest, another 1 hour, and if you don't have somebody pick you up, then I'll manage to get you back over there.
All right. I'd appreciate that. All right.
So let's think about winding down. We've only got about 3 minutes left. I got a couple of public service announcements that I typically make because I'm an old left-winger from way back, but I'm also a human being and a humanist too. And I'm learning how to walk the talk and be kind and listen and pay attention, and enough of that. So how about some PSAs in there in the control room? Public service announcement. To watch my shows on the web, Google, Don, Baham, YouTube. And now and then I'll get feedback from other parts of the country where someone has seen one of my shows and got turned on by it, and they thank me. So. And I'm a humanist, as I said, and to learn more about humanists and humanism, go to AmericanHumanist.org. There's a phone number to learn more about humanism as an alternative to organized religion, because I'm not sure no organized religion or anything like that is superior to the other.
Right.
Whatever approach we can have, why we experiment with that and see if it produces a better result for us. Yeah. Now, the Alliance for Democracy, that's an organization I belong to. Go to the national website, the alliancefordemocracy.org, and the Portland, Oregon website. There it is. And any more? The American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU. I've been a member of that for many, many years. And without the ACLU, I think our civil liberties would be further down the tube than they are. And
For sure.
we got to end corporate personhood. We got to show the viewers that corporations are not persons and money is not speech.
Right.
So we can't have the corporations have that much power over us. Now, thanks for watching. And remember KFC. KFC, not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind. Be friendly and be charitable to you too, and you, and you, and you too.
Thanks for coming
on. Yeah. All right, the
But those lights are
cameras
bright.
off.